Morning, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all to the webinar themed Cycling and Walking for Healthy Cities, organized by the Research and Development Division of Urban Development Authority. Amidst all chaos that what we experience in today's world, especially related to health, we believe as the Urban Development Authority, it is our responsibility to work towards creating more healthy cities. Bearing that in mind, the Research and Development Division of Urban Development Authority commenced a series of webinars themed Planning for Healthy Cities. The webinar was held in July this year. You are joining with the second session of that series. And today we'll be focusing on the importance and health benefits of walkable and cycling-friendly cities, and also how difficult or easy it is to make our cities more walkable and cycling-friendly. Before starting the session, we have a few reminders to all the participants who have connected via Zoom. Please keep your microphone muted and video turned off throughout the session. You can post your questions and suggestions in the chat box. And also to those who are watching us on Facebook and YouTube, you can post your comments in the comment section, and feel free to express your ideas because we value them so much, and we'll be directing your questions to the panelists during the Q&A session. Ladies and gentlemen, let me now introduce the distinguished team of panelists of today's session. We have Senior Professor Amal Kumarage with us today. Professor Amal Kumarage is a Senior Professor in the Department of Transport and Logistics Management of University of Moratuwa. He is an alumnus of the same university and of the University of Calgary. Professor Kumarage is also an Honorary Professor at University of Wollongong with over 200 publications. He is a national consultant transport and has served as advisor to several governments pioneering several sector initiatives spanning across transport and logistics, education, public transport, transport policy, and urban transport. He has headed several departments, institutions, professional organizations, both in academia and in industry. He is a campaigner for good governance and institutional reform. Then we have Dr. Asela Abedira. Dr. Abedira is an MBBS doctor and a community ophthalmologist by profession. However, today he is here as the president of Ride for Life group of professionals, and Dr. Abedira is a co-founder of the Ride for Life group of professionals, which was established to promote cycling as an alternative mode of transport in Sri Lanka. Dr. Abedira completed his MBBS degree from the University of Ruhuna and obtained the Masters in Community Ophthalmology from Pakistan Institute of Community Ophthalmology, University of Peshawar, Pakistan in 2006. Currently, he is working at the Ministry of Health at Grade 1 Medical Outreach. Also, we have architect Andrea Slade. Andrea Slade is highly experienced in the creative and management processes of developing urban on historic intermodal hubs to TOD and master planning. His design work focuses on resilience in all leading urban infrastructure projects in the America, Saudi Arabia, and in the Indian subcontinent. Andreas Heim regularly takes part in international symposiums and conferences on urban mobility issues. From 1991 to 2008, he was the secretary of the Watford Group, the International Association of Railway Architects, Urban Planners and Designers. Next, we have landscape architect Chandana Kalupahana. Landscape architect Chandana Kalupahana is presently the director of Environment and Landscape Division of the Urban Development Authority. Today, with over 20 years of professional experience in multiple disciplines, landscape architect Chandana Kalupahana oversees landscape architecture and environment planning over a wide range of projects focusing the national development. In addition, she has been serving as a visited lecturer in the Faculty of Architecture, University of Moratuwa since 1998. As an expert in multiple disciplines, she serves in many leading professional institutes, notably the Sri Lanka Institute of Landscape Architects, Sri Lanka Institute of Architects, and Institute of Environment Professionals Sri Lanka, and the Institute of Housing Development Studies, IHS, the Netherlands. Landscape architect Chandana Kalupana holds a honors degree in built environment and 2 postgraduate master's degrees in landscape architecture and environment science. Then we have Planner Janak Ranavira. Planner Janak Ranavira is presently the Director of Research and Development of our UDA. Previously, he also served as the Director, Colombo Metro Region and Director, Southern Province, and has a wide range of planning and project experiences. Having a Bachelor's of Science degree in Estate Management and Valuation from University of Sri Jayawardhanapura, Planner Ranavira has completed 2 master's degrees in Town and Country Planning and Project Management. Further, he also holds 2 postgraduate degrees in Urban Development and Economic Development. Planner Ranavira is also a chartered real estate consultant and has special interests in the fields of real estate management and financing, project management, economic development, urban planning, and planning regulations. Now, let me introduce the moderator of today's session, Dr. Upuli Pereira. Dr. Pereira is currently the head of the Department of Estate Management and Valuation, University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. Also, she is a senior lecturer. She is an urban planner and a recognized academic in the field of real estate. Having a bachelor's degree of science in estate management and valuation from the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura, she holds a doctoral degree in urban and regional studies from University of Birmingham and master's degree in urban engineering from University of Tokyo. Dr. Pereira's most of research publications and project engagement have been in the fields of sustainability and collaborative governance, housing, transport, and real estate investment, and real estate investments. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Upuli Pereira. Madam, over to you.
Thank you very much, Chulesha, and welcome you all to this panel discussion on cycling and walking for healthy cities. So we have great panelists here this morning, and structure-wise, we are going to talk about framing the concept, plans for cycling and walking in Sri Lanka, sharing some of the international experiences, and looking at some of the key challenges and pragmatics here in implementation. So, cycling and walking was very much a part of everyday life of Sri Lankans to many levels. Now, these acceptable walking and cycling distances stretch not just for kilometers, but even for days. Now, if you take Ambalama, the wayside rest places, and the Pintalia, the free pot of water, with the kind of social support infrastructure that we were often like to reminiscence in this respect. And bicycle was very much a part of folks' livelihood, and it has been so much inclusive in terms of rider being a man or a woman or a child. So, however, while increased urbanization brought many opportunities and we welcomed motorization to so many levels, concomitantly it declined the cycling and walking as a means of transport and mobility forms from our lives due to many reasons. And seemingly today, the public is quite less prone to cycle and walk, given that they have a motorized option. But now again, the contemporary city planning has become very much deliberate on this pedal power, focusing in one way as a solution to traffic and of course as a green mode of mobility, and on the other hand forming healthy cities as well. So as a starting point, I would like to ask Professor Amal Kumarage, how would you like to conceptualize or find this new shape for cycling and walking in contemporary cities in the light of its social, economic, and environmental correlated benefits? And what are the current numbers and status for Sri Lanka in terms of cycling and walking?
You want me to answer that question or go to the presentation?
Maybe you can both answer the question while doing the presentation together, yes?
Okay, right. Let me share my screen in that case. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Can you see? Yes. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Uppuli. I also want to thank the UDA for organizing this, I think, first ever public symposium on cycling and walking. Long overdue effort. But I think it's just the beginning of a long journey ahead if we are to actually, make cycling and walking an integral part of future society. As Dr. Uppuli asked me, how do I see this forward? I think we cannot actually look to the past and say how walking and cycling constituted a part of our historical urban spaces, but we need to recreate new spaces, new livelihoods that are built on such modes of non-motorized traffic. So therefore, it's not a replacement, but an active recreation of the urban infrastructure to facilitate that kind of sustainable modes of transport. So with that, let me proceed with my presentation. I want to raise first the bigger question that we will face when we take one step in this direction, because we are swimming against the tide. It's going to be a very difficult journey, because for years, we have been having what is called a cars first policy. We are not the only country to do that. It's a global problem. And very few countries, very few political leaders have been able to stand against that tide. And those are the countries that decades later we look to for global examples. Many of us, unfortunately, including Sri Lanka, have just followed a process of thinking that development means having more and more cars on the road. And of course, we now have many problems as well. I would like to borrow this graphic from Professor Mohan Munasinghe, who is an environmental economist, and he illustrates this global problem today by showing how the transport contributes to greenhouse gases, as was mentioned in that video, with what we call our level of development, our per capita income as it increases. So when we are like a poor country, a lot of people use non-motorized transport, and buses and trains are the main mode of motorized transport. Very little impact on the environment. But with increasing in incomes, we start to begin using personal vehicles, smaller vehicles, which have now become bigger and bigger and consuming that much more resources and polluting the environment and taking up space that much more. And today, including Colombo, including Kandy and many other cities, we experience this issue of poor air quality, traffic congestion, accidents, and so on. And we have passed what is called the safe limit. It has become a talking point. It is a problem to society. And so this is where the rich countries are. And as we are heading there ourselves, this seems to be the curve we think is inevitable to take, because many countries have gone there. But Professor Munasinghe says that now these countries are actually trying to pull back, pull below what is called the safe limit. And many countries, the EU and Japan and so on in particular, and not so particularly the USA, are trying to pull back this curve to the point E, so that we live within sustainable limits. Now he says that we need to actually have our own path, which is not what other countries have. The tunnel path, B to E through D rather than C. Leapfrogging technology. And this technology is not necessarily high-tech, it is appropriate technology that we need to use so that we don't make the same mistakes that other countries make. So what are the economic issues that were there? Well, one of the problems of promoting any form of non-motorized transport is that there are no economic promoters. There are no brokers. There are no investors into these things, right? Today, you can get a loan for any vehicle other than for a cycle, right? In fact, there is this infographic that is moving around, which says cycling is bad for the economy. It's actually true in a way, because he doesn't take, a bicyclist does not take insurance, he does not buy fuel, he does not send the bike for major repairs, he doesn't pay parking, and also he does not become obese and go to the doctor and need drugs and hospitals and surgery and all of that. So there's a bit of a hilarious thing saying that these actually are not promoting some parts of the economy that are actually promoting or based on a very wasteful, inefficient, and unhealthy way of living. So it's also one of the most unsafe modes of transport. Last year, 217 cyclists died, 813 pedestrians were killed, roughly making about 40% of all road accident fatalities. Now, I just do the calculation, and if I divide the number of people who died by the kilometers that are traveled by that category of users, public transport users are the safest on the road, followed by four-wheel users, followed by three-wheel users, followed by the two-wheel users. The motorcyclists are the most vulnerable motorized vehicle users. Then we have the pedestrians. Being a pedestrian is much, much more riskier than any form of motorized transport. And the worst mode of transport on a public road is unfortunately the bicycle. So what are we doing? Are we trying to put people back on these roads and kill them? So if we don't actually address this issue of safety, we might actually be committing people to their deaths. So we have to be very careful when we develop this infrastructure. One of the other problems is that there's a huge social stigma of using a bicycle or even walking, right? It's still considered a poor man's transport. As a promoter of public transport, we still have that, because in our country, we have promoted that a private vehicle is a state of social attainment. And we need people to go out there and say, you can have a car, but use a bicycle, walk. And I think society is coming there. The new generation is not necessarily having the hang-ups that our generation had. We don't have a government promoter. In fact, we don't even have a government ministry or department that considers cycling and walking as its responsibility. We have a lot of issues on healthy. Many studies have shown that walking and cycling creates positive emotions. It's recommended daily, a daily dose of cycling and walking. Cycling and walking creates connectedness with your environment, with other people, with businesses. Doctor will tell us, it actually reduces the risk of many non-communicable diseases. And also, they say that it emphasizes the wellness of people when they walk. And so I just want to highlight two areas where I have the data on cycling and walking, and I have been working in this for the last couple of years, just to give you where we are in Sri Lanka. In the Western province, we have cycles being used, but if you take the Colombo city, only 1 in 300 passengers come by cycle, only 3,600 out of 1 million. But if you take some roads like the Matakulia, the Hekkita Matakulia road over the bridge there, some of you may not know, it takes 8% of the traffic, 8%. So it is possible. But when the traffic increases, obviously because of safety reasons, the number of cyclists move out. So the potential is there if we actually have the demand for it, the roads developed for it. We also see cycles and walking being used to access public transport. For example, access to the railway 49% of the people who use the railways walk to a railway station, walk to and from railway stations. I have the figure there. 2% of them come by cycle. So 51% use non-motorized transport. So that is another thing. If you have people on public transport, they actually walk as well. And that's one way of getting them to walk. They also have situations where in the Western province, 25% of all trips are by non-motorized trips. So people do walk, and we need to keep them walking, and we need to make that walking safer and more enjoyable, more connected, so that it will increase. 30% of people who go out of home in the Western province do by non-motorized means. So cycling 2 to 3% across all income groups. So we see cycling is still happening across all the income groups I have shown there, A, B, and C. However, walking is changing. You can see that the groups that have income of over 18,000, only 6% of the trips. 40 to 80,000, 14%. Below 40,000, 28%. So this is changing. So with income, people, when they get used to private modes of transport, you can see walking is becoming optional or dispensable. Now, a lot of the trips in the Western province are fairly short. You can see that even by private vehicle, the average trip length is only 6 kilometers. Public transport only 10 kilometers, right? So you can see, as I was shown in that yellow line there, a large part, maybe about 40% of the travel by private vehicles is within non-motorized transport range. People walk 1.5 to 2 kilometers without too much problem, even in our climate. You can cycle double that distance quite comfortably. So we still can regain this space that we can use. Now, in Jaffna city, we have actually a very different scenario. 9.2% of all the trips coming into the city are on the cycles. In the Jaffna municipal city limit, 8,500 cycles come in, 14% increases. So here we see the better hierarchy, that as you come closer to the city center, the cycling, walking population increases. That is the functionality of a city. Now, Colombo works the other way around. Kandy works the other way around. So Jaffna is a much better city that we can use. And we also UDA in Jaffna has actually done a survey some years ago and found that 84% of the students in Jaffna use a push bicycle, but only half of them, 28% of them, 1/3 of them use a cycle to come to school. And when you go to university, the number of students using a push bike is actually 42%. So you can see that actually you need to capture them when young and try to keep them as much as possible. So these are some of the statistics, and I have some recommendations which I'll be happy to share in the second round. Thank you very much, Dr. Upali.
Thank you very much, Professor Amal. I think that was quite a nice picture and a lot of possibilities, because even though we haven't we haven't recognized cycling as a mode of transport yet. I mean, we have no recognized ministry for that, but still there are signs, as you shown, that show us some positivistic approach to regain the space for that. Now, particularly with this COVID-19, we hear mixed sort of research conclusions that for some part of geographies there had been bike and walking boom, where people look to cycling and walking to do something in quarantine or as an alternative mode of transport to keep physical distancing, drive away depression and all of that. While some cities, it has not really been the case. So in the light of this backdrop and picking up some of the benefits which Professor Amal Kumaragi mentioned in his talk, I would like to ask Dr. Abeysekara, both in the capacity as a community ophthalmologist as well as a representative from the Cycling Society here. What are the particular public health benefits that cycling and walking proven to have by making it a part of everyday lifestyle in this new urban context, as Professor mentioned?
Good morning, and thank you for inviting me to join this meeting. And I hope, I honestly believe that this will take messages across the public to promote cycling and walking in order to develop a nation with better health. So I'm representing a group of professionals which is called Ride for Life. We formed this group recently with the onset of COVID-19 pandemic in the world, and we started do some reading, as Dr. Puli mentioned, that most of the countries, many countries have switched their modes of transport to non-motorized with the onset of COVID and lockdown, where people have less access to public transport, and there was a definite risk of getting infected with COVID when you travel in public transport. So cycling and walking has definite good benefits for the health. So that is proven globally with scientific research, and now it is accepted by everyone that cycling and walking will make someone live longer with a better health. So with the as Professor mentioned, with the motorized transport being more popular, people tend to use motorized transport to have their own cars, and even to reach 1 or 2 kilometers, people started their car and use three-wheelers and buses even for the short distances. That not only made cost for them, but indirectly affected their health, becoming them more unhealthy. They become lethargic in their lifestyle and became victims of a lot of non-communicable diseases like heart diseases, diabetes, hypertension, and cancers. So with the research, it has been invented. It has been proved that cycling and walking could reduce the risk of many diseases. Some diseases are prevented. Diseases like heart attacks, heart diseases, diabetes, hypertension can be prevented if you do cycling on a regular basis or walking on a regular basis. If someone cycles 30 to 50 kilometers a week on a regular basis, or say like half an hour walk a day on a regular basis, they will have their enormous good effects of these physical activities. So it is said that those who bicycle, those who walk, have lesser chance of getting heart diseases. It is 40% lesser chance of getting heart diseases, and 40% lesser chance of getting cancers, and the overall lifespan. The years you live will you will live longer. There's a 40% less chance for you to die prematurely. So those who cycle, those who walk will live longer. There's no doubt about that. So, and in addition, cycling has enormous benefits of health benefits for your life. Mainly the cardiovascular fitness. Not only that you don't get heart disease, you will have your cardiovascular proficiency. You will be able to, you know, exercise more. You will be able to walk more. Your heart will be more stronger, and your muscle strength. You will have iron legs and flexible body. So those who cycle and those who walk will have more strength to walk more distances and to reach places. So, and the joint mobility, you will have better joint mobility, and those who have arthritis and those who are prone to arthritis will have better effects, not getting arthritis, or your arthritis being kind of relaxed or improved. And posture and coordination is one of the main important other health benefit. When you ride a bike or when you walk or when you walk fast, you are maintaining your body posture. You will be upright, and you will when you cycle, you have your specific body posture, balancing everything. So that will improve your posture and coordination. And the bone strength, those who cycle, those who walk, will have iron bones, especially those who are elderly, especially those who are, women who are reaching their menopausal age. They tend to have their bones, fragile bones. Then when you cycle and walk, their bone density will go up, their bones will be more strengthened. And people say that, it is also proved that you will have better immunity when you walk and cycle. So let me share a few slides which will be showing you the same thing. I have already mentioned, just wanted to show you that the things. And obviously it says stress relief. Cycling is a good stress relieving activity, strengthen your immune system and reduce blood pressure and risk of diabetes, help you to lose fat. Lot of people have their fat badly distributed fat accumulating here and there, making your body disfigured. So that will the cycling will definitely help you to have a handsome body with less fat. So cycling is always helping you to have a better health and live long without non-communicable diseases. So I'll be discussing the other aspects of cycling, how community can participate, how community can collaborate with the other parties to promote cycling. So thank you very much.
Dr. Asela, thank you so much. So I also read in one of the articles that walking and cycling also improves the eyesight. Is that true? Are there research like that as well?
Yeah, actually it directly relates to my profession. So
yeah,
with there's something else, there's something interesting with the onset of COVID, especially children. So they switched to online learning, mainly using their mobile phones. So they are confined to their houses, confined to their rooms, and they were just looking at the laptop or the computer, and that prevented them looking far. When they are at the school, when they are on the playground, they were looking far. They are focusing at distance objects. So when they constantly focus towards the near objects, their eyes they start to become myopic. Myopic means short-sighted. Their eyes are becoming short-sighted. So with the onset of COVID pandemic, there's statistics. Globally there's a tendency for small children to become myopic, short-sighted. So cycling and walking will definitely help to get to lower the risk of for them getting short-sighted.
Yeah. So I'm sure everyone in the room, including myself, have a lot of spirit to cycle and walk now. So coming back to, thank you, Dr. Abesekar, and coming back to the point I was referring before at the very start, where with the economy is being transformed to open policies, primarily during 70s and 80s. It has been common phenomenon, as even Professor Amal Kumarage mentioned, common phenomenon that particularly across developing countries to kind of marginalize the active travel modes in cities. So it is not just the case in Sri Lanka. I've read one of the World Bank reports, and if you take China, which often referred as the bicycle's kingdom in 80s, is no longer the case. So now I would like to ask Mr. Janak Ranavira. So what has been the recognition that the past urban planning had for cycling and walking, particularly in countries like Sri Lanka? And what really have shattered the strengths we have had for this over the past in Sri Lanka for cycling and walking?
Hi, good morning, Upuli.
Good morning, Mr. Janak.
So, starting my presentation, cycling and walking is not a novel thing for Sri Lankans. I can remember when I was a child, I used to ride a bicycle.
Yes.
In my village, my village is Valiveria. In my village, many people used to ride bicycle for their daily needs. Valiveria, if I say Valiveria, it's a very rural village at that time, and there was a village junction, what we call Kadamandi. And I can remember people from surrounding village, they come to Kadamandi by bicycle. And there are a lot of small bicycle parks everywhere. And also many places to repair their bicycles, we call winkles. People come to Kadamandi and park their vehicles somewhere, and they go whatever the place they want to go and buy their day-to-day needs, and they pick the bicycle and go. So what I want to tell you with this short thing is because at that time that was the culture. Culture was there. So in addition to culture, people had, for bicycle riding, people had cycling infrastructure. Infrastructure in the sense winkles and parking places and those things. And in addition, there was, at that time, there was very few vehicles moving on the road. So road safety was there. So me also several times come to shop or come to Kadamandi by bicycle. And also in my village, the school children, they go to school by bicycle. Me also go to temple or the Sunday school by bicycle. And at my story, what I'm telling this story in latter part of 1970s. So while riding a bicycle, there were formal transport routes, but normally or usually we used shortcuts. These shortcuts are sometimes runs through other people's lands, other people's verandas or backyards or rear spaces. So while riding the bicycle, we talk to the people then and there, and sometimes we enjoying a lot of sceneries. I can remember we normally, me and my friends, stopped bicycle on the Anicut, and we watch how fish moving, and likewise there are a lot of entertainments. That time was very fantastic, I think. So with that, what I want to tell you is there were many shortcuts people are, I mean, the people harmony and people, the community collectiveness was there, and also leisure was there. So this cycling is not at that time is not for, I mean, is not for leisure, no, not for exercise, not for relaxation purpose, but that there was a purpose. People ride bicycle to get some food, get some need. Likewise, there's a purpose for riding a bicycle, but today people ride bicycle is either for leisure or for as an exercise equipment or as a play item. So after the economic policy reforms in 1978, that impact was really affected in 83-87 period. The change was really seen in every sector. We saw this change, but probably especially in the transport sector. That formerly what I call Kadamandiya suddenly flourished as a commercial center of the city. The people, I mean, people stopped riding bicycle. Actually, they stopped riding bicycles and walking. They stopped. They used to public vehicles or used to get a motorized private vehicle. After this economic policy reforms, having a vehicle is a mark of status or fashion. So after vehicle comes, people, what happened? After vehicle comes, people that time I explained that shortcuts, people used formal transport routes. No more shortcuts they needed because motorized vehicle can't move on shortcuts. So with this change, village centers, the earlier village center now came as city center. So demand for lands in and around the city center, in and around the town center, those increased. So big lands around the city center subdivided into pieces, and people built walls all around for their safety or as marked as a status. So shortcuts were closed down and no more shortcuts there. The previously scenic locations covered with walls, and those areas were abandoned either or as mysterious places to visit. So people lived in cover cages. So what I want to tell you with this little thing is people used motor transport, but no leisure, no relaxation, and no exercise for them. An unhealthy community was created after this thing. People from distance location at that time in my village, people from Valley area, they won't come to Colombo. Very few people came to Colombo for their office or very special need. But after this economic reforms, development of transport sector and road sector, the people I'm usually coming Colombo for office activities, schooling or shopping or health or to buy medicine, or likewise many activities they are coming to Colombo. From rural area to urban area, we can see development. But from urban area to rural area, what we see was urban sprawl. This urban sprawl, what we saw during past 2-3 decades, was it is very uncontrolled urban sprawl. From sustainability point of view, what I see from urban area to rural area was in sustainability concepts, we talk compact cities and compact urban centers. But after these reforms, what happened? The sprawling effect was, we see sprawling effect. Then no compact cities found and no compact urban centers. If I say from real estate point of view, what happened? No major variation in land prices and built fabric. So from urban to urban to rural, the urban to suburban, the very few marginal level of, changes in the land prices, no high density, high land value areas. And from economic point of view, what happened? The economic point of view, unproductive infrastructure distribution, we see. To that infrastructure distribution is also facilitated sprawl and traffic congestion and time wastage also. So what I want to tell you with this is after changing the culture, the previous things what we experienced was changed. The previous things in the sense, the cycling culture and cycling safety for cyclists and infrastructure for cyclists and the relaxation, the scenic places, those were, destroyed with built environment. So this cultural change really affected to promote walking and cycling. So if we want to promote cycling now, it's a trending now. If you want to promote cycling, we want to concern on the aspect of culture, how we change the culture or the habits of the people to accommodate cycling in future. I'll speak in my second round how the Urban Development Authority wanted to, how we think that we can improve cycling in at least urban areas or some few areas, or how we develop different culture to promote cycling.
Right.
Thank you, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ranavira. Now, when I look at all these benefits with what Dr. Abeysekara was mentioning, and the positive space that Professor Kumarage was talking about with respect to, yes, we do have some positive space for cycling and walking when we look at the statistics, and to regain this cycling and walking culture in the new form and to battle with the urban sprawl, as stated by Mr. Ranavira. Now, all these can be accrued to a great extent depending on the way in which the urban spaces are set up. So I would like to ask Mrs. Chandana. Now, even though the economic progression we aimed in the recent past took cycling and walking being deserved as a potential way to connect people towards economic prosperity, now the Urban Development Authority, being the planning agency in the country, seems to be progressively taking the responsibility to recognize the need and to provide sort of infrastructure for walking and cycling to a substantial level. So where about the contemporary UDA stands in terms of the design philosophy in setting up the urban spaces in support of cycling and walking? What are the goals and initiatives taken to spur more cycling and walking in Colombo City particularly?
Hi, good morning. Thank you very much, Dr. Puli. And thank you, Jana, for giving me the opportunity on sharing a few thoughts on a very valuable topic, I suppose, cycling and walking. And you are correct, Dr. Puli. Now, as a landscape architect and also as the head of the Environment and Landscape Division, we, the professionals in the UDA, especially the professionals in my division, the landscape architects and environmentalists, have a big role to play in gaining back the non-motorized transport into the urban centers. So together with the other divisions of UDA, we have certain initiatives taken to uplift this environmental friendly mode of transport again to our cities. So let me share some slides with you all. As a preamble, I want to start up with some facts on the environmental perspective, why we need cycling back again and walking back again in our cities. And I will share some of the initiatives we have taken. I suppose the slides are shared. Dr. Puli, is it okay?
Yes, we can see the slides well.
Yes.
Yes.
So I will specially focus on planning and design for walking and cycling in urban environments, because that is the main scope of what we do at the UDA. And let me start off why we are talking on sustainable urban transport again, because we know that we are talking about climate change, and it's imposing complex interacting effects on every city around the world. And of course, we know there is more and more change to come, because we experience the scenarios of the climate change. And then we talk about as mitigation effects or adaptable effects of climate change. We are talking about the sustainable city concepts, then smart cities, and we are talking about resilient cities, and we are talking about healthy cities. So, and to achieve them, we are talking about some sustainable development goals. So, in the sustainable development goals, we are talking on low carbon footprints, and we are talking about connectivity, and we are talking about urban mobility. So, I suppose in this scenario, now what is the present issue we are having, as Dr. Amal Kumar very correctly explained, and also the doctor explained. Now, street spaces are disproportionately skewed among the motorists. Even in Barcelona, that we have read, one of the most walkable cities in the world, 60% of street space is devoted to cars. Because as Janak said, it has become a status symbol, especially in Sri Lanka, it has become a social status symbol of owning a vehicle on your own. And also because of some issues on the public transport we are having, we are more towards going to our offices and going to our day-to-day requirements in a motorable vehicle, rather than going in cycling as we did earlier in our cities. So we know that with the motorist transport, we are getting more and more emissions, and particularly a portion of greenhouse gas emissions. And walking and cycling, we are looking at as very sustainable transport modes and cleanest way to around the city to promote the mobility. So we consider the bicycle as a symbol for decarbonizing transport and societies. And the cycling and walking also, as Dr. explained, has enormous benefits for health, greenhouse gas emissions, air quality, and road safety. So how we can encourage people to travel by foot or by bicycles, need to rebalance the distribution towards pedestrians and the cyclists and the motorists. So addressing this imbalance requires cities to redesign the neighborhoods and traffic systems to work in favor of cyclists and pedestrians, because as Dr. Amal Kumar said, these cyclists and pedestrians are unsafe in our pedestrian in our city environments. So they tend to go back into a motorist vehicle or some kind of motorable transport rather than going in a cycle or walk into their day-to-day things. And when we talk about this cycling and walking, we can make them the journey safer and more comfortable. And also each city has, and when when Dr. Amal Kumar said, we also believe that each cities now, as urban planners and landscape architects, we have to understand our cities when we redesign them for any activity. So each city has its own culture and climate and built and the social environment, and it is essential to that to understand that niche and the local context and prioritize the walking environment for a city, because we know that the designing a cycle track or a walk path in Colombo will be totally different in Jaffna, or else in a remote situation to integrate it harmoniously with the more natural environments prevailing those urban suburban neighborhoods. So we have to understand that fact as well. So how we start from redesigning the cycling and walking, we need to reinvent our policies. We need to have our enabling local policy experiments towards the non-motorized transport. encourage more pedestrian throughfare in cities is to introduce cycling, because we have to start, I think, from the policy level itself on how we are going to reinvent this sustainable mode of transport in our cities. And also, as designers, we need to develop a comprehensive cycling and walking concepts with high quality street design standards, because they have the sidewalks and the cycle paths which complete the streetscape has to be reinvented, where the people can walk in a safer environment, and to encourage walking especially. We can use the colors, or we can use some seating, and we have to think of the differently able people in these scenarios. So it has to be an attractive options, and cities must focus on these attractive options, and also the comfort for cyclists and people on foot. So how are we going to structure this around walking? So we should design our cities for people, not for the cars. We should predominantly focus at least some pedestrianized environments where the people could more and more encourage into walking, and create, as I said earlier, they should be attractive. I think you can see from these pictures, because we have added some colors into these urban environments. Then you tend to walk, because your environment facilitates in a very pleasing environment and encouragement of walking. And the people focus place making. Public areas, the public realm or the public spaces should be connected to these walking and cycling, where the people would relax and then walk again. People should mingle with each other, have social interactions. So then the cycling and walking is just not an activity in a radial way, where you stop and pause and have some kind of social relationship. Also will have more and more positive effects for these environments, and positive effects encouraging the cycling and walking. And also we should connect these to public transport, where that should be affordable and also accessible, convenient and efficient. Where these, because we know that sometimes people don't travel by a motor car always to walk, because now we go for walking and cycling as an exercise or as some kind of a relaxation rather than walking for our day-to-day work. So this public transport also should be connected to these areas where people can come and drop off from a bus stop, and you walk leisurely, experiencing the environment as well. And these walking networks should be mixed with other land uses, such as the shopping complexes, or such as open spaces and relaxing environments. These networks should be not isolated entities, but they should be mixed with other land users in the city. And also this, very importantly, this walking and cycling should be integrated with urban green infrastructure, where we do two things at one time, because rather than providing the walking and cycling, we also increase the green infrastructure, which in turn would have the decarbonizing effects, and also the heat gain, urban heat gain can be addressed, and cooling environments can be integrated with these, integrating the green urban infrastructure into these walking and cycling pathways. So what are the UDA initiatives at the moment? We have at the UDA, we have our regulations and planning guidelines, as Janak would know better than me, I suppose, because as a planner, because we are the main planning agency of our cities. So in our planning, urban planning documents, we have our urban development documents, which we prepare for city developments. We can integrate these regulations and planning guidelines in such a way that these streetscapes would have provisions to allow these footwalks, and also these cycle tracks, because we talk about building lines and street lines. So they can be an enabling factor in integrating the cycling and walking. And also we have some certain guidelines called public outdoor recreation spaces. So in that context, where the environment and landscape aspect is integrated into these development planning proposals, in this we call it in short PORS guidelines. So in this we have a park connector network integrated into our development planning proposals. So this park connector network is predominantly focused on cycling and walking. And we are talking about urban community niches, where these open spaces are scattered in such a way that urban, these niches of communities can walk to an open space and have their relaxing active and passive recreation. So the connecting roadscapes would facilitate walking and cycling with the urban pocket parks. And we are talking on urban shady walkways in our designs, and also the urban infrastructure. I would share some of the sites which we have already completed the projects. The Wetland Park Nugegoda, which has been a dilapidated site, which was an unused site. Now it's turned into a very active space for walking and cycling, especially predominantly walking in a very urban situation, because you can see I must have visited would use these spaces. And in the night time, how it is illuminated and encourage people to walk on these areas. And this is another example. This is Baddagana Wetland Park. Now we are coming into a wetland situation, a very urban sensitive area situation rather than at the urban situation. We have designed the walk paths within the wetland without disturbing the wetland. The existing footpaths are accommodated for walking and also cycling. Urban biodiversity is experienced in these areas, and also the flora and fauna are experienced by people, and such relaxing environments. And also this is outskirts from Colombo. This is at Badulla. This is also a park which acts as a linear walkway connecting two entities. This is at the heart of the city, where you can see we have used some colors and we have used a lot of greenery, where people are encouraged to walk. So we have started that initiative already at the UDA. And this is from, actually I'm sharing some slides which our research and development division also did recently. They are having a promotional activity like community trail networks. They have identified the community trail network in the Colombo city. So this community trail will also link these parkways like Diyatuyana, then the Baddagana Wetland Park, Independence Square, and Bera Lake, Vihara Mahadevi Park. They are interconnected as park connector networks for facilitating walking and cycling. So these are some of the maps which shows the trace of the project. And also we are talking in that project about neighborhood cycling path, commuter cycling path, and sports and recreational cycling paths, because we know that cycling also has many factors on their thoughts. So, and also we are talking about linear paths and jogging and walking path, and also we have linked the water transportation network also for that cycle tracks. These are the project areas. You can see it has a total land area of 164.31 square kilometers, and the resident population of more than 1 million, 1.8 million, and also a community population of 1.9 million per day. So you can see the target populations, and also the planning recommendations are linked in these initiatives at the development plan level. Then it comes down to the designing level, and we are involved in designing such spaces. So it's a continuous exercise of planning and designing together, facilitating this urban cycle paths and walk paths again. I won't go into the details because we are talking about sustainability of these urban parks, and also how to promote the accessibility of these paths, and we are going on the standards, international standards, where the pedestrian would be safer, and also they would have the differently able people, and also adding the greenery into the footpaths. So I think I was mainly want to emphasize that UDA has taken the initiatives already to regain the cycling and walking and repopularizing the thoughts or the concept of cycling and walking. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Chandana. Just one clarification. So, in these initiatives, does Road Development Authority or any other transport agency come into play, or,
Yes.
or is it?
Yes, Dr. Puli, actually you raised a very interesting and a very thoughtful question, because I should have mentioned that, because we already go in line in these initiatives together with the local authority, the respective local authority, and also we link with the Road Development Authority, because we take their street proposals, the road widenings and the future proposals of them, and integrate our landscape architectural, hard and the soft landscape architectural aspects into that, facilitating this walking and cycling. So it's a coordination between all the other agencies as well, all the stakeholder agencies.
Great. Yeah. Now talking about this placemaking for cycling and walking needed to be an integrated approach, and we need add color. So the contemporary Western society, for instance, like cities like Amsterdam or Paris or Basel or Barcelona likewise, have quite come back and established cycling and walking as a part of their everyday mobility, and I mean connecting people to jobs perhaps. So, but also of course supported by markets, you know, producing all these cool fancy riding bikes and accessories required for an urban rider, investment on events such as Tour de France to boost the kind of social spirit and support for it and all of that. So I wish to ask the architecture engineer we have in the room, Mr. Andreas, how do these active travel modes such as cycling and walking be supported by the way in which the urban spaces or the public realms get arranged in these cities?
Yeah, hello, good morning. Thank you very much. I don't know if you hear me. You can hear me?
Yes, yes, we do hear you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for having me. I will share, if you allow, I will share some slides. I'm Andreas Heim, an urban planner architect from Paris, France. And over the last 2 years, I was project director of a French planning consortium working for the government of Sri Lanka for the PETA multimodal transport hub project, which in fact is a transformation of the Colombo Fort railway station to a modern transport center, as you all know. And this obviously included redesigning the surrounding urban area and introduced new routes for cyclists and pedestrians. And therefore, I would like to start with walking. Because in fact, the bicycle was invented 200 years ago as a device for fast walking. It was the first mechanical enhancement of individual mobility, a kind of poor man's horse. And it took some 50 years to find new, to develop the bike further in various variations. And in fact, in 1884, the bike as we know it today was already invented. So the bike hasn't moved for some 125 years. And it has since then become the symbol and tool for individual mobility and empowerment. And this is very much forgotten, that really we have more than 1 billion bikes in the world, it's estimated, in 2020. And bikes really had become an enormous helper and driver to make people, allow people to move and participate in the economy. But obviously, even as bikes are small, they need space to be operated, in fact, public space. And this space is already occupied by other mobility modes. either by individual modes or modes for groups of people. So from the beginning, the use of the bicycle is linked to the use of public space. And you see it here already in London. It's not very much different from today. The roads are occupied. Parallel to the bikes, develop the transport modes for groups, which in fact today called mass transit. And here you see a horse-drawn tramway from 1860. So that's the same time the bike was developed in its modern form. And this shared space remained more or less the same for all transport modes for the next 100 years or so. The big change became then with the explosive increase of the private car in the second half of the 20th century. So the shared street space becomes more and more unusable and loses its original reason of being. So the car, in fact, overcrowds and suffocates the shared public space. And this triggers over the next 50 years 3 developments, and I obviously shorten and simplify here, which are investment in mass transit, creation of pedestrian and shared spaces, and the revival of the bicycle, which had suffered a lot by the arrival of the car. So investment in mass transit had all over the world various forms, either light rail transit, buses, tramways, but it's a very important part to support the revival of biking, is that in parallel you have a good level of public transport. The creation of pedestrian spaces, of shared spaces also, is something that is only maybe 30 years old. It's something quite recent, and was done in the movement to get more livable spaces and get the cars out of the city center. And very often the pedestrian spaces then were shared spaces with public transport, like here, for example, the tramway that goes very well with pedestrian zones. And the third one is obviously the introduction of bicycle lanes that again you see all over the world for quite a time now. And this desire for better space and the movement for better health really led to the revival of the bicycle. And what you see here, that the space taken for the bicycle lanes is taken away from the car. So very often it's not a question of big investment, it's a question of paint on the street or some simple separations, and you can generate simple bike lanes which help make biking safer. Even in places like in Colombia, biking has successfully by just taking away space from the car for the bike. In addition, is the introduction of bike sharing, because people have bikes, but what really changed in many of the Western countries, the use of the bicycle, is the introduction of bike sharing. And then this goes so far that even bikes become transported in public transport, like in trains. So people really don't need the car, but they can cover the whole from home to home through bikes that they can transport in public transport. So this obviously then generates needs for bike parking. This is maybe not a problem in Colombo yet, but if you look in places like in Holland, some Dutch railway stations have bike parkings for more than 50,000 bikes. So you really see the dimension of biking in other countries, but it's not only in Europe, you see it in South America, you see it in other places. And this revival, in fact, is a revival that is a part of a worldwide move to change the quality of city life. And even in the United States, where you think the car is so much in the foreground, if you look what is happening in places like New York, here you see Times Square, the change of the city center with simple means. It's just paint, it's some furniture, you can radically change the way of living and the way of transportation. So from our experience, the walking and bicycling have really become the key motors for the renovation and change of modern cities. And so we shouldn't underestimate this, but celebrate it, that by promoting biking and walking, we at the same time promote better cities. So I would leave it here for the first part.
Thank you very much, Mr. Andreas. So now comparing to these European or Western countries, relatively in Sri Lanka, it's kind of posed with quite a challenging situation being in a tropical zone. You know, we have heat, humidity, monsoon rains, and severe thunderstorms, where the kind of new form of urban living and working standard seems to be precluding walking and cycling as a cool thing to choose to go to work. Now, I would like to raise this question for Dr. Abedira. Now, as I also saw one of the participants here was mentioning the mentality he encountered in Kandy as opposed to Jaffna, if you could read that as well. And on top of that, all the panelists were mentioning about safety, because pedestrians today in Sri Lanka, in most cases, have to take life onto their hands when you walk on the road, and who wish to ride on a bicycle on a main street seems to have a kind of a death wish. So the contemporary urban people here would have kind of least self-willingness, self-drive towards cycling and walking as a mode of transport. Of course, Professor Amal Kumarage sort of highlighted some of the positive statistics in terms of people welcoming that, particularly when you're at a very lower income scale. But I mean, like, just forget about going from one place to another, but even to move within a certain work premises itself, given a motorized option, I mean, most of us would likely to choose the motorized option over walking. So I would like to ask Dr. Abedira, now, despite all these said challenges about safety and about tropical conditions, as someone who welcomed and engaging in cycling, how would you like to elaborate on some of these said challenges that one might encounter, and what can we do about regaining this self-willingness of individuals and the society to embrace cycling and walking? I mean, do we have any community programs for this? I think you can also, your answer for this will also answer one of the participants' questions. I mean, question raised somewhere in Kandy or Jaffna.
Yeah, thank you. And now, from now onwards, I am switching to a cyclist from a doctor. So I started, I started cycling to work. I mean, with the intention of promoting it among public. So I'm riding from Piliandala to Barella. It's 16 kilometers, and back it's 32 kilometers a day. So I have chosen the roads which are not main road, not the roads which are not the bus routes mainly, not the bus routes, and but the by roads which are along the canals and by roads which are more safer. So as a cyclist point of view, I'm associating many other cyclists and many other cycling organizations. I'm a bit new to cycling in Colombo, but there are hundreds of cyclists who are cycling in Colombo on regular basis. So, but I started cycling maybe at 9 years, and we were cycling to school every day, tuition classes, and 5 years in the university, the whole university life. We used cycles, and so we are very much used to cycles. So in Colombo and maybe in any other crowded city, the safety is the first concern. My concern is also safety. So I always try to be in all safety gears, like helmets, gloves, everything, and the blinking lights, everything. But still, the safety is the issue. The main reason is we are riding on main roads and roads where there are no dedicated space for cycling. Where I ride, Piliyandala Colombo Road has a cycling lane, but barely it's spared for cyclists. It's the cycle lanes are encroached by the buses, three-wheelers, motorbikes, and whatnot. So we have no space to cycle. So what I do is I leave early before others start, and when I go back home, it's really difficult to go back. So that's the first concern. So we cyclists expect the policymakers and the governments to have dedicated cycle tracks, not cycle lanes on the main road, because they are always encroached by the other vehicles, if not protected with barriers or barricades. So as one cycle lane came up from Battaramulla to Port City, we proposed in our, actually we had a kind of a concept document presented to the His Excellency President, and that was directed to the UDA, Transport Ministry, RDA, and we were able to lobby them. And actually, with that only, I was able to join this meeting and the meetings we had earlier. So we are proposing dedicated cycle tracks which are not on the main roads, but maybe there can be suitable lands where they can be converted to cycle and walking lanes. I mean, in the previous presentation, I noticed that there were kilometers of cycling pathways and walking track, but problem is they are not interconnected. They can be hardly used for commute. They are good for, to exercise, recreation, but you can't commute using those cycle tracks or walking paths. So there have to be walkways and cycling tracks where people are able to reach their destinations. So when you cycle or work, we have to cycle or walk for a purpose. It's always good to cycle and walk for exercise. It will gain your health. It will improve your health, but it doesn't contribute to reduce congestion, traffic congestion, reduce carbon emission, or for an economic saving for the person or the country. If somebody can replace at least one car ride, one bus ride, one three-wheeler ride with a walk or with a cycle ride, that will definitely give positive impacts on the environment and the economics. Every kilometer you ride will prevent emission of 250 grams of carbon dioxide. That's very important. So we should keep in mind that every ride done for purpose, every walk done for purpose will have positive impact on the economy of the whole country and personally for us. And the other challenges are those who are riding for long. I'm riding 15 kilometers, and my office has a changing and shower facility for me to change and get into the office attire. So I'm coming in the cycling dress. So that's a challenge. And the climate, we discussed in this climate, in a country like this, can we ride? But people in Jaffna, so I'm from Mathura, we were riding in this climate for decades. So it's the attitude. No, if we want, we can ride. It's not climate is not a problem. You leave early and you go back home in the evening. So sun is not a problem. So, and the other challenge is changing attitude of the people. Now we heard that riding in a car is a prestige. Is you ride Mercedes or Audi, it doesn't matter. It pollutes air. So that has to be changed. So every kilometer you drive harms this environment, harms the economy. So we need to aware the people on the adverse effects of using excessive motorized transport modes. So So we are aiming at collaborating with all the cycling groups and those who are interested in walking, and to use mass media, social media, and we are working with the foreign embassies like Netherlands Embassy. Actually, Her Excellency Netherlands Ambassador was riding with us last week on a symbolic bike to ride day last Friday, 11th December, and hundreds of cyclists were riding to work on that day, and we published that on the media. So likewise, we need to create awareness among people. Why not ride? Why not walk? That's good for our own health. That will give you economic saving, and that will preserve the environment for our future generations, and that will definitely reduce the traffic congestion in Colombo and other cities. So why not try it? So that's the overall aim of our organization and all collaborating organizations meant for cycling. So we request the government and the policymakers to think on this seriously, very seriously, that this is a way to this cycling, promotion of cycling and walking will have definite impact, a very good impact on the cities, healthy, to transform our cities to healthy cities, healthy people, good environment to breathe, and a better economy. So I will request everybody who is in this meeting and all the Sri Lankans to think about this.
Yeah, Dr. Abedira, just a quick question. So did that 100 people who cycled for walking in that initiative, did that group include any ladies wearing saris or the attire for work?
Yeah, I think there are a few, but the number of ladies were lesser. And yeah, so that's another intention, another aim we have to get more ladies into.
Ladies wear saris and cycle, but that's not a problem there. But here, people would little reluctant, when you wear saris. Is that all right to bike or something like that? So just wondering.
Yes, I have seen many ladies bicycles are coming with sari guard. There's a sari guard, inbuilt sari guard in this bicycle. So the option is the better option is for them to come in the cycling attire and change, provided that they have a place to change, quickly get into their. Ladies are now they are very clever to get into their saris in 5 minutes. So that can be done.
Thank you very much. That's quite inspirational to us as well. So I would like to quickly go to Mr. Ranavir. Now, the earlier culture that you were talking about and what Dr. Abedira was talking about, that we need to change the culture or the mindset, the way we think. So can we promote cycling and walking in Colombo, particularly, beyond its recreational status? Can we use it as a kind of a mobility to go to work?
Yes, cycling and walking is nowadays trending in everywhere in the world. In Sri Lanka also, in many high urban cities like Colombo, Court area, the Kandy, Galle, those areas, cycling and walking is trending. But the thing is, we use cycling and walking is for either leisure or for exercise or as a sport activity. So, but we have to think beyond that. We want to promote cycling and walking for a purpose. So, what my opinion here my opinion is, we can't provide all cycling infrastructure for every city or everywhere on roads, and also can't provide safety in everywhere on roads, and also can't build cultures everywhere in every cities. So then we have to think how practically we approach to promote cycling. And also what I noticed in our projects, the projects implemented by UDA, is our projects also cycling and walking tracks built for either relaxation or either as a playing area or for an exercise route. So as I specified, my intention is to promote cycling and walking is for purpose. Then we can start promoting cycling and walking like this. We can select some small place, for example, some particular area from people who are coming from outside cities, like maybe Galle, maybe Avissaville, maybe some outside cities. They can drop down some particular place, and there are facility for them to get a bicycle. I mean, rent a bicycle. They just rent in the sense they just can get a bicycle by using their mobile app, unlock the bicycle, and whatever the place they want to go, they can ride a bicycle. Then people coming to, for example, we'll get Battaramulla area, for example. If people coming from outside to Battaramulla, then people get down from Battaramulla, and people, if he want to go some office place, he can use the bicycle. And if you want to go to Diyatha area, and if you want to go to Beddagana area, and if you want to go to Palavat area, then they can ride a bicycle and go. Also children and some adults also can use bicycle to travel along the Parliament area. That's for maybe relaxation or maybe for purpose. And those the most important thing is that these cycle tracks must connect. I think Chandana has explained this. Where these cycle tracks must connected to shopping areas and I mean polar areas, the food outlets. Those then people can ride a bicycle and get fulfill their day-to-day needs. Likewise, we have to develop cycle tracks by considering that aspect. And also we can, in Battaramulla area, for example, the roads are a little wide, so we can mark cycle lanes on the roads, and there's a possibility to promote cycling in this area. If we develop this culture in this particular area, we can replicate this culture in other cities also, like Kandy, or maybe in Galle or Gampaha area. For example, I can remember that after UDA initiated the jogging track in Battaramulla Kimbulavala area, what happened? After developing that jogging track, many other cities, people, even politicians, they wanted to build jogging tracks in their cities. So gradually, this became a culture, and people in most of the cities now in Sri Lanka, there are jogging tracks, people jogging there. Likewise, if we promote this culture in some place, then we can replicate it to other cities. So that is, one.
I think what you are suggesting is a kind of a gradual progression.
We have to implement pilot projects, and we can show the people that this type of cultures that we can build.
And I think, as Dr. Abedira mentioned, now, in terms of, I was thinking real estate impact, even the offices, we need to have some shower rooms, isn't it? Like not just the washrooms, but also have some provision for shower rooms in terms of designing buildings in future, perhaps. Now, thank you very much, Mr. Ranavira. So I would like to quickly move on to Ms. Chandana because we are quite running out of time. So I think we have a lot of participants. We have Mr. Praveen Dan and Mr. Ranil Jayanetti text us some of the questions, but all those were related to safety. And we also have some concerns about inclusiveness. So could you please elaborate a little, in a very short way, how does the UDA designs for cycling and walking is inclusive in terms of gender, disability, or income-wise, and to what level, at least to a kind of, even to go for a gradual progression, to what extent the safety and connectivity is ensured in the designs?
You're asking by me?
Ms. Chandana?
Chandra.
Aye. Ms. Chandana, it seems that she has left the room. Yeah, but she is in the room. Ms. Chandana, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear.
All right.
I didn't hear you earlier, Dr.
Yeah, because I was asking that there are a lot of questions about safety and some questions are around inclusiveness. So if we have a quick note on the designs you showed us, to what extent the safety, connectivity, inclusiveness have been addressed, even to a level of gradual progression.
Well, now, as Dr. Asela said, now the cycling, and also Janak said, the cycling is for a purpose. Like how can we connect these cycle paths and walking paths where we have designed for recreation to walk for a purpose or work to office. So we have those initiation as well, that now we are having a pathway design going from Battaramulla up to Colombo, connecting these, actually I showed those slides in my earlier presentation also, where you connect these sensitive environment as well as urban neighborhoods, where you can go or ride a cycle or have a walk right along these water courses, oils at the edge of the urban situations where to Colombo from Battaramulla. Answering your question, now actually we have designed the pathways in such a way as we have barriered those pathways from a tree line, oils. We are having different levels, level changes, oils, water course in between from the major roads. So we are talking about the safety in that sense, and also the inclusiveness of the women in these pathways. Now what you tend to use these pathways or the cycling tracks, especially by women, if those pathways are not isolated, if they are linked to some kind of urban activity, and also it is linked with good lighting and also the urban neighborhoods where you can walk continuously. So those kind of actions we have taken. Actually, we have connected these pathways to urban neighborhoods where you also have some income generation activities, where these some kind of these cola kanda oils, other healthy food habits are promoted alongside these walk paths. It creates in one sense the investment promotions, oils, the economic stability, and also in the other sense you have the eyes to the these walk paths. So these walk paths are not isolated as well. So that kind of initiatives are taken at the moment. You can see in some of these walk paths, and the connectivity is also thought about, connecting these pathways where one could walk for a purpose.
Thank you very much, Ms. Chandana. Just one more clarification. Is there any sort of thoughtfulness in terms of for disability people, access for disabilities? Because I can remember when this post was posted in the Facebook, one of my friends, actually, she texted me, this is a very nice idea. I wish I can. So that really touched me. So I was wondering, is there any provision or any kind of special facilities that we can think of in accommodating the special ability, people of special ability?
Yes, surely, because in these, especially in these walk paths, when you have these level changes, where a wheelchair can move on your own, or else with some kind of an aided movement, We can integrate these walk paths in these level changes as smooth level changes where the ramps can be integrated to accommodate these kind of continuous continuous access in these pathways. And also without the steps and in some areas you can have a railing where they could feel that they are secured in their wheelchair. That is also created in these designs.
Right. Thank you very much, Ms. Chandana. So I just like to now again move to Ms. Dr. Andreas. Now, despite all these challenges that we have talked about, we would encounter now the contemporary pressures for sustainable development, including goals such as good health, well-being, climatic action, then come to sustainable cities, reduce inequalities, and all of that are pushing us to embrace cycling and walking with more deliberate approaches, which is, I think, really good. So I would like to ask now, in the light of these alarming conditions, how cycling and walking would most likely to be portrayed as a future mode of transport, or even as a future mode of human progression. So what is the most likely portrait of this in future?
Yeah, thank you. Apparently is a problem, but in any way, I think it goes very much through the sharing of public space. We cannot avoid the discussion about making space available for pedestrians biking. What is very interesting initiatives that you see in many cities, that, for example, at a Sunday, there is some major road access which is then freed up for pedestrians, blocked for cars and freed up for pedestrians. I've seen this in places like Paris, obviously, but I've also seen this in Sao Paulo, where the main road in the center of the city is just closed for cars over Sunday. And suddenly you see tens of thousands of people who would never bike normally biking in the middle of the city. And this is the way where how people get also used to biking and get invited to bike. And car drivers find out that if they cannot drive for some Sunday, the life doesn't stop and the city is not is continued to live. So these are simple things that can be organized by the public authorities. Many questions are really questions of political will to do so. And so that's one element I think it's important, which I would try to underline. There is still a lot of work to do in this direction. And the second thing is the technical development that you see happening around not only bikes, with electric bikes, but then also you have these small scooters that in former times were kids' tools. But today, a lot of people using these electrical scooters also that now you can rent, like you can rent bikes in many cities, you can rent these scooters. And then you see also the development of the bike itself. You have now bikes that allow to transport cargo, so special constructed bikes which you can transport your kids, you can transport your shoppings, etc. So there's a lot of things happening, and it's really linked for me to, and a lot of the speakers have said that it's linked to have real bike lanes and bike lanes fully integrated in public space.
Thank you very much. So now finally, because I have some questions, but still since the time is running out, I would like to move to Professor Kumarage now. So you, as one of the top transport specialists in Sri Lanka, and taking what Dr. Andreas was mentioning about, what the predictions would look like for cycling and walking. And on the other hand, we talked about a lot of challenges, the pragmatic approaches. And talking, of course, you also showed the idea of leap tunnel in one of the slides you shared earlier. So do you think the roads that are environmental friendly and ensuring public health and other infrastructure for cycling and walking will still be ended as a luxury concept than a fundamental concept? Because I think it needs to be a fundamental concept. So I know that you also have done some work in Jaffna. So pragmatically, what can we do to re-establish, reinvent, as you correctly mentioned earlier, to the cycling and walking as a part of everyday mobility?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Puli. I think I cannot disagree with anything that has been shared by the other speakers. It's been a wonderful dissemination of ideas, and I only hope that the UDA will find more and more strength to take this forward in different ways. Let me answer your question with my slides, where I have asked that same question of myself. How do we take these ideas to implementation? What are the challenges that we are likely to face, and how can we overcome them? So yes, I did some work in Jaffna, and we did propose 16 kilometers of cycle path. Now, this is yet to be implemented, but what we saw and what I mentioned earlier, that Jaffna is one of these cities which are still lagging behind in the development that Mr. Janak was talking about, what happened in the 80s and 90s. Because of the war situation, Jaffna is still, in a sense, hasn't gone through that hyper development. So we can still reclaim Jaffna as a green city almost for the concept of developing walking and cycling. Now, how we link this is after careful study of how people travel, we need to connect origins and destinations. It's one thing to have cycling and walking for recreation, and it's another thing to build that into practically usable networks. We need to get people out from a once a week leisure ride to using it daily. So here we connected the schools. Jaffna has a large concentration of schools in its city. We concentrated on the railway station, the bus station, the hospital, and the public buildings. We also looked at the tourist potential in terms of the hotels and the locations of tourist interest within the city of Jaffna. And we developed this to be used as a cycle path, and its designs are now ready for implementation. Now, in doing this, we could not use all the roads for reasons. So there are a number of engineering design guidelines that are available, and I have used this one, where you can see that on the x-axis, when speeds are over a certain limit, you should not have cycle paths on the road. They need to be physically separated outside the road. It is not safe. On the y-axis, as the vehicle flow, the motorized vehicle flow increases, again you have the same issue, because the cycle being the smallest will get pushed out. So you can have shared carriageway. You can see at the lower ends of both speed and volume, we can share the carriageway. Then we can have cycle lanes physically separated, but on the road itself, on the carriageway, in the next phase. But as you go outside of that range, the domain, we need to physically segregate them. So you need to carefully pick out roads where you can have cycle lanes and what sort of cycle lanes, and where you cannot. Now, so these are cycle lanes away from the road and cycle lanes on the road. So there are lots of design guidelines I will not take you through, and I hope the UDA will go into some of these things and design them as per international standards. So when we talked about this in Jaffna, people were saying, how can we give up road space? Now, this is one of the big issues, giving up road space. What's the space that you're giving up? Sometimes it's for parking of vehicles. Sometimes it is unused. And we found that actually on most of the roads in Jaffna, for most of the day, there is adequate capacity. So here is, on the left-hand side, is a 8-meter wide road, sometimes used for parking, and you can actually have 2 lanes of traffic with a cycle lane, 5 meters, 1.5 on each side. But you have to take the parking out, and that is an important aspect of any cycling or walking, that you relocate parking to the rear of the buildings. And that's an important finding in many countries. Then also, we have many 4-lane roads. Sometimes they're divided. Even Jaffna has a divided 4-lane road. We suggested make it 1-way, 2 lanes, create the other, claim the other 2 lanes to create a city center where people can not only use bicycles, they can walk, and that becomes a pedestrian plaza. Well, we got a lot of support from the people, but this is a plan that the UDA can take forward. So the next stage in this is actually to be boldly saying, we need space from roads. As long as we are hedging and saying we only get pushed out of the road, or we just get 1 meter on the sidewalk, which actually is not good enough, or we put it into canal banks or lake banks, that's good for cycling or walking for leisure only. So in order to connect these together, we will have to use roads, and we must be bold enough, strong enough, organized enough to say we need 1.5 meters, 3 meters, or whatever, or create city centers that are meant for people, not for cars and so on. I think that message needs to go out globally. That has been very successful. And again, we, as I mentioned, in the center of Jaffna, where the highest densities are, is the bus stand and the hospital. And there are 2 broad roads on either side, and we suggest make that a pedestrian plaza, make that a 1-way couplet. The traffic volume can manage with that. Readjust the parking. So these are some of the city designs that the UDA has to actually begin to innovate. We have for too long followed a plan where we try to bring as many cars into the city, provide more and more parking in the city, take out the bus terminals, and take away the sidewalks and make the streets wider. And that is that path that I mentioned, which is not the green tunnel. So here is an opportunity. As I said, Jaffna can be done fairly easily as that. Now, the Comtrans proposal developed by JICA Assistance in 2013 has identified a network of roads and pathways to connect the core area of Colombo. And like Dr. Abedira and several others were saying, we need to connect origins and destinations. So the UDA can look at these things. If you want a copy, I can send it to you. They've done some studies behind this. I have not analyzed it myself. Some of them may be very good ideas that you can take up. We need to connect them, and because we have 2.5 million pedestrian trips happening every day in the Western Province, and 250,000 cycle trips per day. That's a lot of traffic that is spread out, which we need to capture. I just want to end with examples of 2 countries, 2 Asian tropical countries. One is Singapore, and Singapore designed the city for walking, for cycling. Lee Kuan Yew's vision now continuing the pedestrian first policy in road use and land use planning. Now, one of the things that succeeded is that they developed cycling and walking within suburbs and also connecting suburbs. And that is very important. Connect the different cities, not have jogging tracks and cycling tracks within the city, that is good for once or twice a week for people to go and spend time there. We need to connect them. And in fact, they are just finishing up a 36-kilometer, what they call the Central Urban Loop, a linear walk and cycle space. So Singapore is not a large area, and a 36-kilometer walk is actually a long trip for anywhere in Singapore. And like was mentioned by Chandana and Janak also, we need to connect schools, workplaces and homes to make this actually usable. So I think some planning need to be done. How to integrate that? We cannot do it on all the roads. We cannot connect everywhere. So some study, some serious thought has to be gone to get some pilot projects correct. As Janak was saying, if we get the right concept correct, the project will just roll out. If we get it wrong, everybody will criticize and we will never be able to get cycle lanes or walking lanes. You can go and search. Singapore has a suburb, a new township called Ang Mo Kio, AMK. It's designed to become a model walking and cycling town where they actively discourage private vehicles. So these are some very progressive things that are happening in our part of the globe, which we should learn from. Now let's look at Singapore. Singapore did not follow that same view. It's highly built up. It's a polluted city. And now, since of late, they've approached this in a different way. They've started something called the Healthy 8,000 Steps campaign. Now that is 6 kilometers. The chart there shows on average how many steps people take. China leads the way. And you're amazed that if you use a car to go to work and come back, it'll be very difficult for you to walk more than 1,000 steps a day. I have measured it. I measure it every day. But if you use public transport, easily that goes up to 4,000. And you have to actually actively travel to go beyond that. So some countries say 8,000. I would say 5,000 if we can get. I mean, we'll be very good and we can meet Dr. Abedira's dream of a healthy nation. Connections to public transport improves it. That's one of the ways in which Hong Kong is doing it. Getting people to walk a kilometer to the public transport between bus and train, getting and making it safe, well lit, well protected, all of that. Also, the route layout should be safe and scenic. We have a lot of natural beauty which we can utilize to emphasize. And we have lakes and we have canals, we have beaches, we have hills. I mean, where in the world do you get such kind of, natural resources, right? And ensure multiple usability. So I think this is a new challenge for the urban developers, for the R&D and beyond. To design walkable cities, to design walkable neighborhoods. I'm so happy to hear that language coming from architect Chandana. I mean, from the transport side, we certainly would like to assist in whatever we can contribute to accommodate density of population and build and mixing this with the different, so those have to be created. We are now trying to do retrofitting, trying to put walks where it fits. But I think in the long term, we've got to go beyond that. To create walkable communities where people can gather, meeting places, town centers, where people will spend time, create a new economy of bringing people together in a city rather than just coming and going in the morning. Our cities have become like very bland. We need to integrate these streets into bicycles and public transport and pedestrian systems rather than creating separate systems. Integrate them with places we go to for common things so that trips can be made. Also, we need to, as I said, follow a process where we limit parking, discourage people coming in their vehicles, especially if they have to park, taking valuable land space. Put parking to the rear of the building so that the front areas, road space is actually for the more important visitor client to an establishment who comes walking or on a cycle for that matter. Now, this is actually the usage of bicycles in the Western province, and you can see actually the higher usage of bicycles in the green colored graph is actually far away from the city. These are the relatively poorer areas, but you can see some areas like Beruwala and the Nigambu Katana area are actually using more bicycles than any others. But you can also see as you come closer to the city, particularly the Battaramulla area, actually it's the lowest. Why? Because those are cities built around the motor vehicle, lifestyles built around motor vehicle users, less public transport. So the most amount of heart diseases and diabetes, I suppose, would come in future from those areas where people are captive to the car. On the other side, you see the green graph showing the percentage of walking. And again, you see the same pattern. You see further away, the more remote areas people are walking. And as you come closer to the city, well, it dries up entirely. So our cities are not designed. So we have a huge challenge to increase that. So finally, the next few, some ideas. Undertake a pilot city. Tackle a small city, a dry zone, flat country. I would suggest Jaffna, Anuradhapura, you know, these are ideal if you can take, do a pilot city. Undertake a pilot project around Colombo. Battaramulla area, I think, has a lot of density, and try to create that. I think you have some ideas. It's important to create economic opportunities. All of these things must have an economic motivation. And I think we need to move to what some cities are doing in terms of actually marketing walkability and cyclability as real estate value. Catching the new generation who value that, and ensuring that the land value goes up by providing those. And I think these are some of the things that we can even encourage developers to put in along with their developments. To have businesses with our bike sharing that Janak was mentioned, and create urban pedestrianized areas where people will come for small economic activities like vending and busking and so on. Create a new economic profile of the city. We need to do a lot of public awareness, you know, like the 8,000 steps in Hong Kong, which is a government-sponsored program. We need to develop scores for each city, community, walkability or public transit ability, so that people will know and how good or bad their city is. And also, I think somebody mentioned, maybe it was Mr. Andreas, we should push for an annual walk and cycle day. Close some of the roads in every city, a few roads, it's okay. Where parents will take their children and get them to cycle on the road, where people will just go buy an ice cream or buy some kadala, somebody will go and play some virindu and things like that. I mean, create that on a Sunday or a public holiday. And I think we need to, there are lots of opportunities, there are lots of things we can learn from others here. So I want to finish by thanking the UDA for this big step, but a step that probably is part of a long journey. Thank you for everything I've learned and the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor. So I think we are flourished with so many questions. So we wouldn't be able to take all of the questions, but some of the questions we have already addressed by the panelists through their answers. But I would like to take a couple of questions. So Professor, now there is a question asking whether we can have a national policy for this, kind of or maybe embedded cycling and walking within the mainstream transport policy or something like that. So what do you think about it?
My experience with top-down policies is that we'll have it in a policy. It will sit on a report somewhere, and that's it. I believe Sri Lanka doesn't work like that. We need to do things at the ground level, create successes, and then scale it up. So I think that's the best way. If the UDA can take some pilot projects, do it carefully, nurture it, publicize it, and then like the jogging tracks, I think that's the best way to take the message forward. So then after that, probably we'll have a better appreciation of it as a public national policy.
Yeah, so scale it up. Start from the ground level, have some initiatives, and then learn lessons, and then scale it up to a policy level to formalize it further and to shape it up further. That's what you want to mention.
Well, when you make a policy, there's chance that it'll get hijacked. There'll be some big interest, to import bicycles or start a rental agency, and they'll look at it only from a particular angle, and it'll be criticized, it'll fail, and that'll be the end of any cycling endeavor forever.
Right, thank you very much. And also, I wouldn't read out all the questions, but there are a few questions that are coming around. Probably Dr. Abedira or Professor Kumarake would answer this about the use of different smart apps or different smart technologies to perhaps to kind of boost the social willingness to this, or maybe as a support to public health. So is there any particular concerns or use of these smart apps or any kind of smart device in support of cycling and walking?
Yeah, actually, I have already posted the reply. We can use apps like Strava. Strava is globally used cycling and any activity related app. There are millions of subscribers in that app. You can download and install. Then when you ride or walk, any physical activity that can be monitored. So you will be at the end of the ride or the activity, you will have the distance, time, the number of calories burned, the elevation, everything will be recorded, and you will end of month or any stipulated time you will have statistics also. So Strava is one of the best apps.
Yeah, there are also suggestions from the audience that we need to work on traffic laws and make sure that trees will be grown to have shady tracks. So some of these suggestions from the audience as well. And there is also a message from the UDA side for the audience that if you wish to work with UDA to make your ideas a reality, to send your email address, perhaps the UDA will announce a particular email address so that you can share your ideas, because I think one of the things, Professor Kumarage, isn't it, to work on this is to get the support of the community. So the community can come up with a lot of pragmatic ideas, what work in their local setting. So I think you can also communicate, which is very good. Because we see a lot of interested people in the room. So please do share your email address so that UDA can contact you, get your ideas, you all can work together. And there is also, I don't know whether that participant is still in the room, Mr. Roda. He said he requested to talk for 1 minute. Are you still in the room?
Hello, yes, I am.
Yes, you can. Yeah, because we are running out of time, if you can make your speech very short, that would be really great. Yes, please do go.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody. I think this is a conversation that I was looking forward to, and I'm really, really happy about this. Just to give a quick introduction and basically say what we do. Roda is, my name is Iyaz, and Iyaz Fazul, and I'm the CEO and founder of Roda Electric Mobility. We are Sri Lanka's first electric smart bicycle manufacturer. We are looking to basically promote electric mobility, lightweight electric mobility in Sri Lanka, initially starting with the bicycle form. If you can see the picture of the bicycle, that is me basically presenting in Colombo on our launch day, which was about 2 months ago. I think every participant that is here right now, every speaker, I really admire the things that have been said, and I would definitely want to work with every single person here in developing policies and the future to promote cycling in Sri Lanka through light electric mobility devices, because I think this counters a lot of issues that we face, like Mr. Asela said, the sweatiness, like you said, the inclusivity of saris. Because if you look at the design here, what we did was to be inclusive of saris, sarongs, and other, like, you know, dresses. So thank you very much for the opportunity. I will I'll be definitely reaching out to every single person here. And
yes, Mr. Fazul, thank you very much. I think we got your message across. Yeah. So please do send your email to the UDA so that they can work on your ideas as well. So I think we can end the session because we have taken most of the questions. So just as a final note, I adopt this idea from a very recent talk I heard. When a child celebrates the first birthday, they start walking. In the 5th birthday, they probably get the first bike to ride. And as parents, if there is a day that we can say them, we can tell them that you can walk anywhere, you can ride anywhere, that would be the rewarding dream for human progression that we all can anticipate. As Lord Buddha and many other forerunning philosophers, sociologists claim, the world has a cyclical pattern. So it's a matter of reinventing the cycling and walking we used to have, but in new forms. So thank you very much, and thank you very much for all the great panelists here. It has been a wonderful discussion. So I would like to hand over to the session to Chulesha.
Thank you very much, Madam. Thank you, Dr. Upuli Pereira, for moderating the session in a very effective way to get the best out of it. And also to all the panelists, thank you very much for sharing your expert knowledge and experiences with us. And especially to the participants who interacted in the chat, like you made it a very live discussion. So all your thoughts and the ideas are very appreciated, and thank you for that. And as the organizers, what we will do is, like, we'll document all the ideas shared here today, both by the panelists as well as by the participants. So like we'll make sure to make them available to all the decision makers, relevant decision makers, both inside the UDA as well as outside the UDA. And we should not forget, this is not just a discussion, this is just an initiative of a long journey. So we invite you all to work with us. So share your email addresses. Those who would like to work with us, please send your emails to the email shared. It was shared in the chat. So thank you very much for that. And as we have reached the end of the today's session, thank you very much, everyone. So with that, we mark the end of the session. So have a nice day.